moving on, a bill seeking to extend term limits for the president, governors, members of parliament and members of county assemblies to 7 years has been tabled at the Senate for consideration. The bill, sponsored by Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei, similar to the NADCO report, also aims to reintroduce the office of the Prime Minister. Philip Simiu takes us through what is presidential term limit, how many terms can a president serve in Kenya, and when was the 2-term presidential limit established in Kenya.
And I want to assure my critics that I am one of the few people who cannot be intimidated or blackmailed or coerced.
Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei wants the Kenya Constitution amended to extend the presidential term limit from the current 5 years to 7 years.
Na mimi nafikiri hiyo sio mwaka 25, waje tubadilishe katiba. Waje tubadilishe katiba. Kwani iko nini?
Senator Cherargei, a close political ally of President William Ruto, says the current term limit is not sufficient for a head of state to effectively run the government.
Wenzetu wa Kenya Kwanza wako na nia ya kuintroduce mswada kwa bunge ya kufanya ati president anaweza kuwa na limitless terms, akae mpaka maisha yake yote. Hiyo maneno yote tunajua na sisi hatutakubali. Hapo wakienda hapo ndio tutawachania njia.
According to the senator, Kenyans are still in a campaigning mood during the first 2 years after an election, which leaves the president with a short term to deliver on his pledges.
This enables the president to have a good opportunity to form and establish a formidable team to deliver his manifesto.
Kenya may experience changes in its electioneering if a bill that is set to be tabled in the Senate is passed. According to preliminary information on the bill, an amendment is suggested to increase the presidential term period from 5 years to 7 years.
I wish that we have this president for at least for 25 years. Mali angini iko miaka mingi sana. So if we have this ichi tabadlisha.
Additionally, members of parliament, governors and members of county assemblies MCAs will also enjoy the extended term period of 7 years if the bill passes.
I've seen some governors who are serving their second term have been calling me, some MCAs. They have been asking, why don't you include us in this proposal of extension of term? Because they want also to be part.
It is too early to test the waters with that kind of statement. Kenyans are suffering.
We knew all along that President Ruto was envious of the record that has been set.
Further, the bill proposes to legally establish the office of the Prime Minister in the Constitution. As it stands, Amani National Congress Party leader Musalia Mudavadi is the current Prime Cabinet Secretary, but the 2010 Constitution does not provide for this post. The bill, sponsored by the Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei, further proposes that the Senate should have a role in the vetting of cabinet secretaries, the Attorney General, and the Auditor General. Cherargei also wants the Senate to be granted powers to vet the Inspector General of Police, the Chief Justice, and judges. If the piece of legislation is passed, counties could also be in line to benefit, as the bill proposes to have a devolved unit gets 40% of national revenue as equitable share, up from 15%.
Is to raise allocation of revenue allocation to counties from the current 15% to a minimum of 40%, so as to capture the wishes of the people of Kenya for development and to fund the 70% of the devolved functions that have been assigned to the counties.
Another key highlight of the bill includes having both the National Assembly and the Senate approve the deployment of the KDF to foreign nations. Samson Cherargei, who is expected to table the bill, has also proposed that an impeachment case filed against governor and deputy governor should be challenged at the Supreme Court only. The bipartisan team championed for the creation of the office of the Prime Minister, an official office of the leader of the opposition, as well as those of his two deputies.
It is not a position for an individual. It is not a sweet deal for anybody. It is a position that will strengthen, deepen our democracy and create greater accountability in government, because you want to be accountable to the people of Kenya.
This is not the first time that such a proposal has been fronted, as Cherargei had tabled a similar proposal in September 2023. President William Ruto, however, shot it down, insisting he respects the constitution and will adhere to it fully.
The same way we opposed BBI, because it was meant to achieve selfish, parochial, personal interests. We will oppose any move to change the constitution. I will be at the front to say no to any change of the constitution, to change term limit, to change things that benefit individuals.
Earlier, Cherargei's party, the ruling United Democratic Alliance Party, has distanced itself from the proposal, describing it as a personal view.
As president, I will not participate in mutilating the constitution for purposes of serving selfish, personal, parochial interests.
Cleophas Malala, the Secretary General of the party, said UDA is guided by the constitution and its focus is on delivering on its promises to Kenyans.
Mimi kama Secretary General, kazi yangu itakuwa kuangalia wale wafanyakazi wa serikali ambao hawachungi mama mboga na watu wa chini.
Bon Khalwale from the UDA party said the proposal by Cherargei should not be tolerated as it risks undermining Kenya's democratic gains.
We sing and appeal to God that when your time finally comes and you lived on privilege, before the Lord opens for you, they will ask you to account for what you did for the poor because of your position of privilege.
Bumula MP Jack Wamboka said leadership has to be passed down to give others a chance.
Jamaa mwingine kutoka hapa Rift Valley, akili yake ako bado anaishi kwa kasumba ya Moi. Hajui maneno Moi alitufanyia sisi. Watu wanaumia, wao wanasema Ruto aendelee kuongeza wa extend term limit kutoka miaka 5 ifike 7. Wananchi mnakubali hiyo?
Nairobi-based political analyst Kevin Ochol told the African Report that there seems to be a silent push within the ruling regime to amend the constitution.
Kenya is not ready for extending the life of the presidency.
He says he will not be surprised if there is a pressure from the ruling UDA party to amend the constitution ahead of the 2027 polls.
Mimi nataka niambie Cherargei awajane na hiyo maneno na asiongee, awache kabisa. Tunakataa kinakanaka kabisa. Tunataka hiyo limit ya president iwe tu hiyo miaka 5. Mtu akifaulu kwa 5 atutengenezee maendeleo aende nyumbani.
According to Article 257(1) of the Constitution, any changes to the government system must be determined through a referendum.
The idea of a constitution is a social contract with the people. We went around the country as the committee of experts to solicit views from Kenyans on how they want, to be governed. So it is the will of the people. And remember, in Article 1, it talks about the sovereign power of the people. They can exercise directly or indirectly through the representative. Article 10 says whenever you want to try and amend this constitution, you must consult the public. So when Favi comes up with this crazy idea of ease that really goes against all expectation, the letter and spirit of the constitution, who did he consult?
Extending the term limit to 7 years will mean that Ruto could rule for at least 19 years and he will begin a new 7th term in the next election in 2027.
Hatuwezi kurudi nyuma kwa katiba ya siku za Moi. Mtu ni miaka yako 5, unakuja unaomba ingine, wananchi wakikubali kukupatia ingine 5, that is over. Unaenda nyumbani. Kenya ni kubwa, lazima watu wengine pia wapate nafasi ya kuongoza nchi.
This is not the first time politicians from the ruling party UDA are pushing for the change of term limits. In November last year, 5 MP Salah Yakub proposed that the presidential term limit be removed and the age of presidential candidates running for the top seat reduced to 75 years.
Term limit should not be 2 terms, and the person should be removed through the ballot. Then it should be something to do with age limits.
Want for continuity is that I will want the Kenya Kwanza government to rule at least for the next 50 years, so that similar to ANC in South Africa and Chama cha Mapinduzi in Tanzania.
Kenya's term limit was introduced before the 1992 elections and retained in the country's 2010 constitution. The country is still considered as a beacon of democracy in the region, pervaded by dysfunctional and non-democratic regimes. The purpose of term limits is to minimize corruption and abuse of office, open the government to new people and new ideas, and infuse the government with more innovative and creative ways to solve national problems.
Let us not be distracted by agendas of those who seek to change the constitution after every election to see if they will get a shortcut to power.
You are the first president in this Republic of Kenya to exit while you are still young. And I know for sure that it is just, you are just going on leave.
I can tell you, if there is one thing that Kenyans are very, very clear about, is the 2-term limit.
For Prime News Masha Television, I'm Philip Simiyu.